Before you ask me why I'm not going to be talking about my dad's favorite books, let me just show you a book he's currently reading. Conspiracies and Secret Societies, The Complete Dossier, 2nd edition by Brad and Sherry Steiger. Hey guys, my name is Miranda, and today we are going to be talking about my mom's favorite books. Well, not really, because these are the books that my mom has recommended me, and I read them and I really enjoyed them. But that is a very long title, so I'm just going to call it my mom's favorite books. Before we begin, I just want to talk about my mom's taste in books. My mom is really big into adult mystery thriller kind of books, and I actually adore those kind of books too. Of course, because all of them that my mom reads are adult books. Not all of them I end up reading because of sketchy things, but there are some books that my mom reads and she thinks that they're appropriate, so she tells me, hey, yo Miranda, you would really like this book. And she's right. There are 4 books that I'm going to be talking about today, but as you can see, this is 3. I promise I can count. It's just because one of them is currently being read by my grandma, so I only have 3 of them with me, but there are 4 that I really want to talk about because I very thoroughly enjoyed them. The first book I want to talk about is Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. This book is so insane, you guys. This is an adult mystery thriller, but the only real trigger I have to really warn you about is that there's lots of cussing in this book. Otherwise, it could very easily be a young adult book. In this book, we follow around our main character, Lo, who actually is a journalist. She ends up being invited on this She ends up being invited on this private yacht trip. When Lo actually ends up forgetting her mascara, she goes next door to the 10th cabin to ask the woman who is staying there to borrow her mascara. Later that night, Lo wakes up to the sound of a splash in the water outside. The next morning, the woman in cabin 10 actually is missing. Not there anymore. She up and left. She just disappeared. Lo ends up freaking out and letting the officer on the yacht know that this woman is missing, and the officer ends up telling her that there was nobody who signed up for cabin 10. Basically, as the story goes on, everybody is against Lo. They're telling her that nobody ended up staying in cabin 10, that there's no one missing. Nobody believes her, and it ends up being like the spiraling mystery. Ooh! And there was a huge twist in the end. Guys, this book is so good. It got me off guard. Ah! The second book that I have to talk about is actually the one that I don't have with me, and that is called The Woman in the Photo by Mary Hogan. I think that's how you say her last name. The Woman in the Photo is actually not a mystery thriller. It is instead a historical fiction book. It is so cool. It goes constantly between 2 points of view. One of them being a girl present day, the other one being a woman who lived in the 1890s. The girl who actually lives in present day, she is adopted and she really wants to find out what her history is. When she goes to the adoption center when she turns 18, the only thing in her file is a picture of a woman. It's so cool because this photo connects these 2 points of view so effortlessly. It was so good. So good. The third book I have to talk about is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. This one messed with my mind. In this book, we follow around our main character, Anna Fox, I believe is her name. Yes, she is actually an agoraphobic. I think I said that right. And that basically means that she has a fear of going out in the open. She hates public places. She can't even walk outside her own house. She's very secluded and she has a major drinking problem. It's definitely a psychological thriller. I had no idea what the heck was going on, and I totally didn't see the twists coming. Basically, Anna Fox spends every single day drinking her wine and spying on the neighbors. One day, she actually witnesses a murder in the house across the park from her. When Anna reports the murder, she actually ends up being very untrustworthy because of her drinking problem, and they end up thinking that she hallucinated the whole entire situation. The whole plot of this book is Anna trying to figure out what is reality and what is imaginary. She's trying to figure out who killed the woman. She actually ends up having a meeting with her neighbors. And the woman who she thought lived there actually ended up being someone else entirely. This book is so good, I ended up reading it in 24 hours. I actually read it 2 days ago. It just sucked me in and I had to finish it. It was so incredibly good. I have to say, I feel like my heart was wrenched out of my body and eaten by a Komodo dragon. I don't know why a Komodo dragon, but it felt like it was eaten by a Komodo dragon. I definitely, highly recommend this book. And the last book I'm going to be talking to you guys about today is called The Breakdown by B.A. Paris. I finished this one yesterday. This book is definitely also a psychological mystery thriller. It's so good. In this book, we follow around our main character, Cass. One night when Cass is driving home from a party, she actually ends up taking a shortcut through a forest, and it's very dark and dangerous, and her husband didn't want her to actually go down it, but she does anyway. When Cass is driving down this road, she actually spots a car that is parked towards the side of the road in the trees, just kind of sitting there. It's in the middle of a storm, so Cass actually pulls up in front of the car thinking that the woman in the front seat needs her help. Because she is scared and wants to get home because she's in the middle of a forest, in the middle of the night, in the middle of a storm. So she ends up driving away without getting out of the car or asking if the woman needs any help. The next morning, all that is on the news channel is this murder of a woman who was in her car in the middle of the night. Cass completely goes on a mental breakdown. She feels as though the woman died because of her. She feels as though she's guilty for the murder. And on top of all this emotional guilt that she's putting herself through, she also is dealing with dementia. This book is so crazy because you really don't know what's real and what's not. Because this book is set in the point of view of Cass, you constantly are wanting to believe her and you're constantly wanting to think the way that she thinks, but there's so many different things that go down, and it's so the big thing that I highly enjoyed about this book was the fact that I felt as though I was going crazy with Cass. It wasn't just that I was reading about a crazy person, it was as though I was reading and I was feeling the craziness that the character was going through, and it completely drove me insane while I was reading this book. I highly recommend this book as well. Alright, that being said, I love you all. Please be safe, make good choices, and I will see you next time.